Hi guys, Rob here. It is February 13th, 2013, coming to you from the cleaning table in my basement. And as I teased you the other day when I did my Buck 110 video, I'm going to go in depth about one of my favorite guns. This is the Smith & Wesson Model 19 double action revolver, chambered as all of them are in 357 Magnum. I'm going to slip this out of its cozy home, my vintage, new old stock, safety speed basket weave holster. What a great old company they were. A great holster innovator, maker of very high quality gun leather in Montebello, California. Let's move that aside and let's talk about the gun. As you can see, I've already unloaded the 165 grain Spear gold dots from the beautiful counterbore cylinder. So how did we get this gun? How was it developed? Well, you see, in the 1930s there was a Border Patrol agent down in Texas named Bill Jordan. Not only was he a very astute and skilled Border Patrol agent, he was also quite the pistolero. Revolvers were his specialty. In addition to his law enforcement career, he was also something of an exhibition shooter. He could shoot aspirins out of the air and all manner of cool stuff with a wheel gun. When the war came about in the early 40s, Bill took a break from his Border Patrol duties and went to war. And when the war was over, he resumed duty as a law enforcement officer for the Border Patrol. He also had another project that became sort of near and dear to his heart. You see, he loved revolvers and he loved the 357 Magnum cartridge, and he was really longing for a revolver to shoot that cartridge that was a little smaller, quicker into service, had a little more sporty handling than the old N-frame 357 that he had been carrying. And at the same time, when Bill was expressing these desires, a man named Carl Hellstrom was at the helm of Smith & Wesson, an old gun company that was in some dire straits. Their tooling was worn out, their factory was falling down, and they weren't exactly swimming in cash. And Carl needed a big score. And he decided to make this score with a high-profile alliance with Bill Jordan. And Bill put his head together with Smith & Wesson's engineers, and they figured out how to make a gun on the smaller K-frame that had been used for 38 specials for years, that looked like a scaled down Model 29 N frame and would shoot the 357. And the Model 19 was born. Of course, when it was born, it was known as the Combat Magnum because it hit production before Smith & Wesson switched over to numerical designations for their models. They built this gun for 44 years, beginning in 1955 and ending in 1999. During the course of its life, it was found that after tens of thousands of rounds of fire, the K-frame exhibited some weaknesses, and the L-frame 357s were born, the most modern iterations of which are the 686 series stainless steel guns. They have a little thicker crane and forcing cone area, a little thicker top strap, and most of the modern ones, at least, have a full-length lug instead of the sort of half lug that this gun has. The Combat Magnum was manufactured first in Bill Jordan's preferred barrel length of 4 inches, which is what this gun carries. And guys, this gun is a legend for good reason. It's just right for the caliber it shoots. It's extremely easy to shoot accurately. Has a fairly heavy but very predictable double action trigger pull. And of course, Smith & Wesson's famous single action. Think about it and it goes off trigger. I just love it. And I came upon this gun in kind of an interesting way. You've seen my 642 Airweight J-Frame 38. I had purchased that from a friend who needed money, as I mentioned in its video. Wasn't really a revolver guy. Of course, like many of us who are probably watching this video, I'm a big Dirty Harry fan, so somewhere along the line I did purchase an 8 3/8" barreled Model 2944 Magnum. Not a gun I really use, except for fun. Then a guy that worked for me, who had managed a pawn shop some years back, told me he had a Model 19 in 4-inch barrel in blue. And I had been thinking about purchasing a .357 Magnum revolver for carry because I loved my J-frame so much. And he brought this in to show me one day. I'm not even going to tell you what he paid for it when he took it in on pawn. And I didn't get it for that. But after a year or so of wheedling and begging and whatnot, I finally pried this out of Donnie's fingers. And it's not a safe queen either. As good a shape as it's in, I carry this gun, and I carry it in that safety speed holster. Sort of on special occasions, I guess you could say, and you gun guys know what that means. It was built in 1971. It is a -2, which means it still has a pinned barrel and a countersunk cylinder that lets the ammunition ride flush when it's loaded. See if you can see that. Whoops. Tumbling bullets. I find that it is just the right size. I used to own a Ruger GP100 with a 6-inch barrel, and that gun's a tank. I didn't want to buy a 686 because they're a tank. But I thought a Ruger SP101 was just a little bit small and light for the .357 Magnum cartridge. So this old K-frame I found to be just right. And it is. It is just right. You betcha. This particular gun is wearing Pachmayr grips. I wanted to re-grip this gun. As you can see, it does have the original Goncalo Alves target grips. Beautiful checkering, beautiful finish. These really shoot well. However, they don't accommodate a speed loader very well without scuffing them up. And, you know, if I were going to carry this gun, I didn't want to mess up my factory grips. I put the Pachmayrs on instead of a Hogue mono grip just because I thought they were a little more period correct. And frankly, when I got them and started shooting with them, I found that I really like them. They're kind of old. They've been around forever. But boy, do they work. Now this gun, let's see if my math's right, is 42 years old. And doesn't it look pretty? Look what else here, guys. This is what the gun came with. The original toolkit, wire brush, swab, cleaning rod, and screwdriver. And I opened the plastic sleeve these were in just for this review. They'd never been used. And they still haven't, and they probably never will be. I can tell you, if you have an inclination to buy a revolver for carry and you want to do it in .357, which by the way ballistically is an amazing self-defense round, I recommend you find one of these. They are readily available in blue and in nickel plate. You can find them in all levels of condition, and they're sort of priced accordingly on the secondary markets. I prefer these old ones with the pin cylinder and counterbore cylinder. Pin barrel and counterbore cylinder, and the real steel trigger and hammer, case hardened colors. I don't know how you can beat this gun. It actually carries pretty well on the hip. You need a good belt and a good holster, but it carries well. And what a blast at the range. You talk about a tack driver, especially if you load it with 38 specials, which is another advantage of a 357 Magnum revolver. You get devastating self-defense capacity and very shootable range ammo that'll both fire well out of this gun. Do I feel outgunned or underarmed when I'm carrying this thing on my hip? I don't think so. What a beauty. And you know, there's 6 in that cylinder, and if you have 2 of these bad boys with you, you've got 18 rounds of 357 Magnum. And by the way, you can do that pretty fast if you practice. I just thought I'd show you one of my favorite romantic partners in life today. If you don't have one, get one. You won't be disappointed. That's all I have for today, guys. As always, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Talk to you soon.